Hello. Check.
Yo, we're good? We're on? We're going to start? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 2017 NAMM show. I know it's sunny outside and you want to go to Disneyland because yesterday it was rainy and that really sucked. But no, you're here to buy gear. And when you buy that gear, don't take it home and show your spouse. Take it to your studio and hide it. Hide it for months. Never mention it. Otherwise, you'll never be allowed to go to the NAMM show again. These are the facts. These are the rules. I don't make them up. Okay, my name is Colin McDowell. This is the McDSP booth. We're here at the NAMM show. We're going to talk about our products. What else will we talk about? Like the EC300, the Echo Collection. It's got magnetic, digital, analog delays, all in one plugin, plus ducking, compression, saturation, modulation. We even put Sims from Futzbox into the effects loop. Whoa, we even got Dave Pensato in the booth. Along with Tony Maserati. That's right. If you're hip and cool, you come by our booth. Bam.
I'm gonna come by you guys at your little party.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's just a show.
Yeah.
300.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm gonna come by. Okay.
That was Dave Pensato. He's
Dave
cool,
Pensato.
but almost as cool as Tony Maserati here. If you've done things like Alicia Keys or Kay Flay or James Blunt, oh, I'm sorry. Tony is much cooler than Dave. Oh. Anyway. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today at our booth is Tony Maserati. He's here to tell you about what he does, how he does it. He might mention a McDSP plugin or two, and after he's done, we're going to give away some McDSP plugins and t-shirts. So, if you want to hang around for a little bit, Tony's going to tell you how to basically make records for a living. You'll be so busy, you won't know what to do with yourself. Tony, take it away.
I'm not sure exactly how I can take this away, but Colin and I have known each other for a very long time. 10 plus 15 years?
It'll be 20 years next year.
He just said it would be 20 years next year. So we've been working together, and the best way to know when you've got good tools is to know that and I don't know if you all have this same issue, but one of the early things about McDSP that got me turned on to them was that I could work with a whole bunch of their software, their plugins, and my system would work consistently. And so immediately I thought, okay, well, they know how to code. Because how many of you have a plugin that crashes your system almost every time you instantiate it? There's a couple manufacturers that has happened to me, and I'm like, I know everybody likes it, but it crashes my system every time. And so I called up Colin those many years ago and said, I love your shit because it not only does it sound good, but it's really efficient and works really well with my system. And of course, back in those days, efficiency was a big deal, which of course meant that Colin's coding was done properly, which was a big deal for me because I want to, as you all know, how your system runs is exceedingly important because you want it to run well, you want it to run fast, and you don't want any downtime. So I've stayed in touch with Colin and McDSP for all these years because, we continually talk about the products they make and how they could run better or they could work better and be more user-friendly or whatever it is that we're always looking for, but also the new products. The AE600, I actually called Colin the other day because there were some controls on it that I wasn't too familiar with. So I immediately called up McDSP, not expecting to reach Colin, but Colin got on the phone. He was like, "Sure, I can help you," and I was like, I didn't really mean for the boss to get on the phone.
If you can't talk to your clients, eat a swift kick in the jimmies. So We'll take calls from Tony or anybody else.
So I didn't know how to ask Colin the questions, the dumb questions like, what does this knob do? And what button, why does that turn red? What does it mean when that turns red? And it was a hilarious conversation about how stupid I am, actually.
No. Tony was all over it. In fact, while we were doing it, Tony pointed out two things that I probably should either adjust, and one of them arguably was a bug. So, if you got a client who's willing to call you up and ask you, hey, how do you use this new plugin? Even though they're very successful, that's very compelling customer to work with. And in the process, they point out to you, I think this is a bug. Oh, you're right. And this you could probably do this way. That's 2 clicks instead of 1. Fewer clicks, the better. Okay, yes, got it. So it's a good two-way street. It's always good to take calls from Tony.
Yeah, it's and I think that getting back to the code itself. How many of you guys use the AE600 and the new ML8K? Nobody yet? Oh, y'all gotta dig in. One of the reasons I really, again, I like Colin's programming, and I know that sounds kind of weird from a non-programmer, but I like the fact that he not only, because he doesn't think like a marketing guy, he thinks like a technical guy, and his stuff works really well for the technical mind. Now, does that mean it's great for maybe a producer or an artist? And I don't know. I think everybody who makes music has a certain level of technical thing they want to do, and some people don't. I actually like the more sort of geeky thing, and I think Colin kind of does that with his stuff, and that kind of is how I like to work. So he's got buttons that have multi-functions on them all the time, and that's one of the things that I called him about, because I didn't know what the multi-function was on a couple of his buttons. And that to me shows that his engineering, not his recording engineering, but his computer engineering is at a really interesting technical level of how many layers of stuff can I get done in this GUI. You know what I mean? So I mean, we've joked about this. His GUI might not be these are kind of super pretty. You must have hired somebody for that.
Yeah, and yes, that is correct.
Yeah, right? You could tell, right? You could tell Colin didn't make that GUI. You know what I mean? Like that's like an actual designer made that GUI and not Colin. But if you bring up some of the other ones, bring up even the ML8K. The ML8K looks a lot like most of Colin's stuff, or even the EQ, the EQ6 or something. You can tell it's super efficient, technical, and does a lot of different things. You know what I mean? But there, I don't know. It's got Colin's signature design all over it, which is great for people like me, because I like being more efficiently technical than I do. The other GUIs that sort of are really flashy, like even my GUIs from the Wave stuff is like kind of flashy looking, because I wanted it to look like a car, because of the Maserati thing, and I wanted it to look like a dashboard. But the reality is, it's like, I sometimes I'll sit there and I have to explain what every knob and button does. And I think one of the great things about Colin's designs are they're meant for the technical guy. And my plugs are not necessarily meant for the technical guy. They're meant for producers, artists, the younger players in here. Colin's stuff is all like it's the professional shop dudes who are involved in this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I had to call him and ask him what a couple of the knobs did. Do you want to demonstrate a couple? Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. I can just talk myself through it really quick.
Do you want to do? Oh, you want to do it?
I can do it, or I can drive or talk, or how do you want to do it?
Can you drive? Can you drive? Oh yeah, Michael, you can drive. So So show them. I want them to see a couple of the things that we were talking about.
Sure,
was
sure.
Was it on the AE or was it on this?
It might have been on the AE600 because one of the things that's not obvious, like the mode on each band's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the controls above it in orange or in white. You see like a gain value, a frequency value, and a Q value. But then there's a mode thing. It has like Q plus or whatever. So those are all the EQ types. I think this is a good example of what Tony's talking about. Is that I'll put in some feature that's like super awesome, but I'm not going to like draw your attention to it. I just kind of stick it in there. Oh, it fits here. Great. I'll walk away. And then Tony like brings a pop-up and goes, Colin, there's like 13 kinds of EQs in there.
Yeah.
Could you describe them for me, please?
Yeah. This kind of stuff, see the levels at which the technical thing happens with Colin is really great. And you have to dig into the GUI to get it. And that's what I think is really important. And that's why I wanted to come in and hang out. But that's super important. But also we talked about, some of the simple stuff. What is the M and the L again?
Yeah, so people like to link controls together, but you don't necessarily want to link together adjacent bands. Maybe you wanted to link like 2 bands from the low and a band from the high. Yeah. So if you just tag any one of the bands 1 through 6 with click the L button, and that'll be linkable, and then click the M button from any one of the bands, and that band becomes the master. So when you move controls in that band, they'll all move together. But it can be any relationship, because I don't know if you want to link the lows and the highs, the lows and the mids, and I don't know, and I think that.
I'll tell them.
Yeah, okay.
The awesome thing about this is that when you can link that kind of stuff, so let's not forget, this is active, right? So this is not only are we automating here, but it's changing based on the threshold you set, right? So you can either expand a particular frequency, of course, or you can just do a basic push, right?
Yeah. And that's another thing that, what Tony just said, and now he's sounding like me. All the like 13 EQ modes is like parametric shapes and shelvings with filters and filters that can either be fixed or active. I was like, what? So backing up any EQ shape
so in other words,
you're
going too fast.
Sorry.
Because the thing is that you can do an EQ push. Show an active push is the white ones, right? So. What's that? Gold ones are active. White one is fixed, right? Now, of course, don't forget, everything can be automated. So if I want a boost in my lows at a particular frequency, now this is active. That's a fixed. So now that can stay there, but then I can have an active dip at whatever that is, 120 hertz. To happen, say I'm on a bass, right? And when he crosses that line in the bass where it starts to resonate, and you want to control that dip at 125 or whatever it is, but you want to keep that boost in the 50 hertz range. This is exactly the kind of thing that can be done with this. But then again, if you want to do, say you're automating a sweep, right? A lot of times. Well, the problem I have with the basic EQ is when you automate a sweep, you then have to automate the cue of the sweep, right? Because if it's a filter, that's one thing. You're filtering out the top and you're bringing it down and up and stuff like that. That's simple. But what happens if you want to filter, say you want a vocal to move through the vocal range, right? So you want to be able to automate through the vocal range, but you want to do that in a way where it also affects more than one band. And that's the thing where you can use this master and link thing, right? So you can automate, you can just grab one thing, say automate this one thing, you automate both things, and then just grab it and move the one knob or the one fader, and both of them will automate. This is really great stuff for us, for technical guys, and especially for doing, effects stuff, which so much of us have to do this effects stuff through equalizers and compressors. It used to be like Colin would make a super cool effect, like the EC that you just had up.
Yeah.
right? So he'll make a super cool effect, and we'll try it out, and we'll use it, and it'll be great. Nowadays, it's like that's not enough. You literally have to like do your own filtering and detail work of that specific effect, and that's kind of, to me, what this guy is good for. And I was completely blown away. There's some other knobs and buttons we should talk about.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so everybody knows the idea. Yeah, show them that. Yeah, that's exactly right. See that? So this guy is fixed. Thanks. I can never remember that. This guy is fixed, and this guy is active. So whenever we got a little something here that we need to pull down, it's pulling it down, right? As in the description that I was talking about, which is great. Now the other thing, wait a minute. Oh right. No, wait, Colin. There was something else.
I think.
Yeah, this. Right. So listening to your trigger, right? We all have to know. So if it's 120 hertz that you want to trigger that event, that dip, then listening to that trigger is exceedingly important. Now, the way your trigger works is it turns off the other frequencies. Is that what happens?
Oh, yeah. So what Tony's showing with the speaker icon button is that's if you want to listen to the filtered source that's triggering the active equalizer. But there's also up above under the M and L buttons, there's an S button, which is a solo button. And what it does is if you're doing, because you can see the curves can get really complicated, and you might not be sure you're getting what you want, you can just solo the effect of that one filter band. So if I want to just hear what band 1 is doing, it'll bypass bands 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you can just hear what band 1 is doing and then go back. You can actually solo a couple of the bands. So it's almost like a bypass everybody else, but just keep me in, just keep this one band alive, which is tweaky and nerdy, but I think that, like Tony's saying, a lot of these problems you're trying to fix or what you're trying to accomplish, at some point you're at point, crap, I want to link this control and that control, or no, I need to like solo this band and this band to make sure it's doing what I want. Yes, it is. Okay, unsolo it, moving on to the next track.
And the thing that's cool about it is all this other stuff that you've already programmed, it's not going to be part of that listening situation, right? And what other buttons?
Well, you were asking me too about the little triangle next to the meters in bands 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's a vertical meter.
Oh yeah, those are really useful.
Yeah, that was actually Derek and Mike's ideas. They said, hey, the threshold is great, but if you could visualize the threshold with each band, because a band might be in the low frequencies, it might be in the high frequencies, it could be very narrow, very wide. So it's really hard. So how much signal is going into the key of that particular active band? So you can just, they said put the triangle there so the customer can visually see when they're over and when they're not. And that was a useful feature too. That's something the AE400 does not have, the AE600 has.
Right. Now, what is this big key down here?
Well, if you just click the key button like Mike does, it just shows you that those are the filter shapes for your active equalizers. So you can see where you're keying from and how wide or narrow they are. They automatically track with what filter shapes you choose and how wide or narrow your cue is. But I just try to give the information. So like Tony says, oh, what's it doing? I need to confirm that.
Yeah.
Go to the key page. Yes, those are my key filters. Great. Go back to the EQ page and keep working.
Yeah. So, and obviously you can turn everything on and off as you want, and you've got some global sort of filters as well.
Yep.
The thing, again, this thing is quite deep, and for those of you who are super geeky, this is your business right here. You can get the whole shit done with this, and that's really what I like about it. The other thing to remember is, and what we were talking about earlier is, I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but with a lot of multi-band stuff, this obviously is equalization and compression, but with a lot of multi-band stuff, you get into phase issues. I don't know if any of you have experienced that with other manufacturers, but to me, that's one of the big reasons why I come to Colin for this kind of super geeky stuff. because he's got the coding down. And that's super important for me. Because again, I don't want to think about whether or not it's going to fuck up. I want to make sure that the coding is done well so that I'm not going to have any phase inconsistencies along this sort of, full spectrum of EQ that I'm doing here. Now, of course, you're always messing with phase whenever you're EQing. But if the code is bad already, then sometimes just turning one of them off creates a phase problem. You got to be super careful about this stuff. Let's look at the ML, the 8K, because there were some knobs and stuff on there that I'm still not even completely familiar with.
Sure. Well, so the ML8000, and Tony was just talking about phase. It's an 8-band limiter that gets fed into a mastering limiter. To get the 8 bands to not completely destroy the phase relationship of your tracks, every band is actually an active process. So when you, like the AE600, you can move those orange triangles, or you can snap them with the snap button immediately to whatever your current signal peaks are in each band. That's your limiter threshold. And then the big faders, like your limiter makeup gain.
Wait,
yes.
Again, you're going too fast.
Sorry.
So, snap. Anybody know what it is? No, of course. Nobody knows what that is.
Sorry, Tony.
Because the snap function is super cool, right? So, all of us who work, not Colin, all of us who work, speed, right? It's all about speed. Now, can you clear out the snap or load the whole thing in again, please? Whatever you got to do. So the snap function, what it does is it brings your thresholds to a value that is close to.
Yeah, close to.
It's close to where the audio for that band or that current band, like you haven't even, you may have changed your bands, you may not have changed them, whatever, but it brings your thresholds right to the audio level, as opposed to you saying, oh, I got to bring them all down because the audio level is so low, or I got to bring them all up from where they come, where they get loaded immediately upon, yes. Time before transient. Right. Exactly. See, he clearly works for Colin because he didn't make any sense to me. He said, time before transient? Time it with the transient.
Yeah, so this feature,
they
Mike
work
Cuddy
together.
Here
They speak some language that means something to each other, but it doesn't mean anything to us.
Well, but so when Mike would play with this, when he's the first guy to test all the stuff in the office, he's like, all these bands are great, but when I want to set up all the thresholds at this one snare hit or this one kick drum hit, I got to sit there and play it over at least 8 times. I go kick, So, Colin, give me a button and I can just set them all at once. So he said, call it snap, put it there, and so I did. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, so see how fast he skipped over it before, like, oh, snap, you got snap too, hey, there's snap over there. But that's a huge thing that nobody else has.
Yeah, I'm very good at understating good features.
Okay, so, and again, we've got the solo function does the same thing as the AE6, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then of course we got the M and the L, the master and the link.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Same as the other joint, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, but now there's a couple extra things you got here that I don't remember. Yeah, what is that? Is that just in and out? Bypass, okay. That's easy.
I think we covered all of it pretty much.
Did we cover all of it?
I think so.
All right, well the other thing is, of course, anybody who is either writing, producing, mixing knows that Colin's got this crushing device here. So if you have the ML4, right, it started with the ML4.
ML4, yep.
Right? So if it started with it, you guys all know the ML4 a little bit? Y'all got to get this shit, yo. So the ML4, I was telling Colin, because I have this. Oh, you got it here. So the ML4, Can you put them both up? So the ML4, I have this love-hate relationship with it because it's super cool because it's Colin shit, but every young producer and writer uses the ML4 to maximize their mix. And what that does is you can't take it off. You guys don't have it yet, so you don't know. But the truth is, you have it, right? Once you put this on, you can't take it off because it changes the sound. So if somebody sends me a mix and it's got the ML4, I can't take it off. I barely, can change any of the parameters because it does something. It has a particular sound, and if the producer has a good ear, he'll make it sound really good. It's really hard to take off. So I have this whole love-hate relationship with the ML4, and now with the new guy with the ML8, he built in that maximizer. Is it called a maximizer? It's just a limiter.
It's a limiter.
Yeah. He built a limiter into the ML8 as well, which I dislike less because the ML8 has so much more control than the ML4. So I kind of use the 8 more. What I'd love to see you technical gurus do is allow me, when somebody sends me a 4, to be able to how sometimes you can take a multi-mono plugin and turn it into a stereo plugin without changing the parameters.
Okay.
But even if we could just grab the parameters and
export from one,
and export them
the
into
other?
this, even if all we did was take this and get it into here, that would be a useful thing.
Okay.
Because I like this one better, not for any other reason than this is the old GUI, and that's the new GUI.
All right.
Right? This one's better. That GUI's better. This GUI is like, it's the old Colin thing. Somebody helped you on this, didn't they?
Yes.
See, I could
I
tell.
always get help. Lots of help.
Yeah. But look at how pretty that one is. And this one is like, I'm always confused when I see it. Not that confused, but I'm confused enough that I like this one better.
Okay.
So anyway, but that limiter is pretty awesome as a maximizer. As I said, it drives me crazy, but it works really well, and it has a particular sound. And the sound, to me, I don't know why this is, but it's a certain thing about the attack and release. So it's different than other maximizer limiters. Like I use L2, obviously, I use the Pro L, and I use the Invisible quite often. None of them sound the same as this. This one does something to the attack it's a thing that it allows attack to happen differently than some of the other ones.
It's patented.
It's what?
That'd be part of the patent it has right there.
Oh, it's patented.
Yeah.
Motherfucky. All right. Okay, that's good. So anyway, well, obviously, if it's worth a patent, then it's worth checking out.
Yeah, right there you go.
But what's the clean and the mode thing? What's that?
I guess the best way to describe it is clean is like as pristine as you can possibly do, whereas loud or crushed towards the bottom. If you really want to limit the signal and you're okay with a little bit of audible saturation sound, that's what those modes do. Where clean or soft, they're just trying to provide you the maximization with as little distortion as possible. So clean's like classical music, crush is like rock band. Yeah.
And now you can turn off all this stuff and just kind of use the maximizer as well,
you
the
can
limiter.
You can just use the master or just the multiband or both.
Right.
But like Tony's saying, I just try to put in all the features I think you'll need and then let you have at it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, these two, the AE and this guy, are the ones that I really wanted to chat about.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Tony Maserati, who's mixed probably more hits than most of us have, I don't know, cables in our studio? It's probably true. So, yes, sir. Question for Tony.
It's more of a comment saying I've never seen, and I could be wrong about this, but when you were showing the EQ, I've never seen where you can link those, like if you've got a low band or if you've got a high band or a mid band. I've never seen where you can link them like that and then move them at the same time. That's super useful, and I liked how Mike came up with the idea to see the different volumes of the thresholds or whatever that was the EQ, right? Yeah. That's cool. I mean, I can see where this stuff is useful. I just don't really have. I've got to get a new setup so I can get some of it because I've always wanted to use the McDSP stuff, but just never gotten into it. But it's really cool. I'm impressed.
Well, the thing that's great about the McDSP stuff, as we were talking about earlier, is it works really efficiently in your system, and that's, you can't say that about all programmers out there, and that's been something that Colin has been doing for a very, very long time, and that's something that I appreciate because we all are trying to cram as much into our system as we can, and when we want to instantiate a plugin, we don't want a problem. We don't want it crashing another group of plugins, and we want it to work well and efficiently. So I think that no matter what your system is, it's going to work well with the McDSP stuff. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah?
What's your favorite McDSP plugin?
Right now, this ML8K is my favorite, and the AE600. These two I'm kind of really digging into. I use the EQ, what is it, the E6?
Yep.
So I've been using the E6 since when I was in diapers. So the E6 I've been using for a long time. You know, I go pretty far back. Can I sit? Yeah. So I go pretty far back.
All the way to the beginning.
Yeah, so I have all of the McDSP stuff and have had it for a very long time. But you know, the reason why I like the AE is because I do a lot of EQing, and the fact that I can get a dynamic EQ to do those things and do them easily is really, really smart for me. And I like, as I said, Colin's technical thing. So it's very geeky and it works with the sort of technical head of mine. Yeah. Any other questions? No?
Let's give it up for Tony, please.
Thanks for coming.
We're going to give away some plugins now. Does everyone have a ticket?
Everybody got a ticket?